What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brutal Planet Comics. I'm your host, Dre the Brute Daniels, and welcome to an episode of the Indie Corner, where I sit down with everybody from the independence community, writers, artists, directors, producers. Doesn't matter if you're in the game, I want to talk to you. So as you all know, I love me a good tag team, and you'll get none better than the guest I have today. He is the founder of ASAP Comics UK, and she is the editor-in-chief at ASAP Comics UK. You're going to love these folks. Give it up for Paul Hayden and Laurie Cunningham.
Hello, hello.
What is going on, my friends? How are you all doing today?
Really well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's freezing over here on the East Coast, Washington, D.C., but I'm doing well. I am doing well.
It's freezing over here too.
Yes. Up there in Canada. Yeah. No doubt it's a little chilly. But I know you're all in different time zones and all over the place. But I want to thank you all first and foremost for making the time and coming on and sharing all this great work that you guys are cooking up over there. I can't wait to jump into it. But first and foremost, thank you to both of you.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
It.
Awesome. So before we jump into all the great work that you guys are doing at ASAP Comics UK, let's just talk about who you guys are. Like where you are, where you came from, how did we get here? And I prefer ladies first. So if Laura, if you'd like to break down your origin, how we all wound up here, that would be fantastic.
My villain origin story. I'm from Canada. I live in Alberta and Calgary. I feel I haven't been a writer all my life, but I'm a writer now, and I obviously work for ASAP Comics and with Paul. I kind of, when I graduated high school, I started to try to be a pilot. Wow. That didn't really go the way I wanted to, so I ended up in accounting, which was a bit of a crush to my inner child, I suppose. And then, just kind of like meandered through and slowly found my way into writing. Basically, I just kind of went traveling one time and was doing a travel blog, and so people back home said they thought I was a good writer, and that kind of, I guess, sparked a curiosity, and I kind of went chasing it, and one thing led to another, and I started trying to write novels, and then ended up dabbling in more short stories and stuff, and then ran into Paul, and kind of one thing led to another. All the dominoes lined up, and I ended up in comics instead, which wasn't really where I thought I'd be, but it's definitely where I think I should be and where I'm happy to be now. So that's kind of in a nutshell, I suppose.
Okay, well that's pretty cool. Accounting doesn't sound like fun. Not
you are.
not one bit. Wow. Okay. But thank you, Laurie. Thank you for sharing that with us. Paul, where are we coming from, my friend?
So I've been a geek all my life. Since I was eight was when I first started getting into comics. And it was just an absolute joy. I'm an 80s child, so I grew up with things like Turtles and He-Man and Thundercats, and just love the genres. But I did the day job thing. I was a dad quite young, so I've been doing the day job, and then I was a consultant, and beard and suits and all the rest, and then lost my job in January 2020, and it was just the biggest blessing. It really was like the biggest blessing, because it was like, we were all locked in, so it was just like, right, I've got time to do something now. Let's do what I always wanted to do. You can sit there and you can sit on your hands and just wait for things to pass by. And then, me and Laurie met on Twitter. We talk writing a lot, and I trust her implicitly. So when I started to come up with ideas for things, I'd always kind of bounce them to her. And then it just grew organically.
Wow. That is awesome. I like that. That's really cool. Now, I have to apologize anyway. Sorry you lost your job. That sucks. I know it's a blessing in disguise and everything, but I've been there before. It blows, but I'm so glad that you were able to use it as an opportunity instead of letting it get you down. So that in of itself is pretty awesome. I myself, like you, Paul, has been in geek and nerddom since the beginning of time. So I understand that journey 110%. Coming from right the moment I came out the womb, I had a Batman comic in my hand. You know, I mean, it was like that. It was love at first sight. So I understand that origin. That is really cool and that is really dope. So speaking of comic book origins, so how did you really get into the comic industry? Now we know, I'll start with you, Paul, on this one. Like, how'd you get into the industry itself? Like, there's one to be a fan, and there's one to be like a reader and go on, movies and cartoons. But what motivated you to get into the business itself?
Just the love of it, and like Laurie, I was originally wanting to be a novelist as well, so it was one of those things where it was like creatively it just made sense to do the two things together. And then I'd met a wonderful artist, and he's now become a really good friend of mine over here in the UK, called Kyle, and he became the artist on the first issue of Messiah, which was like our flagship comic. And then at the same time that we released that, we decided to release it in prose as well. So we did a book in prose, which was the book that me and Laurie wrote together. And it was just one of those things. It was like two worlds combined. It was like two of my biggest loves, and it just made sense.
Awesome.
So it was a lot of fun straight away.
Okay, that's cool, and I like that. I always love it when creators and or anybody that's into any form of creative outlets love what they do. Like, if it feels like a job, then it is a job. But if it feels like something you're just enjoying and having a good time and having fun doing, then it's like, yo, you don't work a day in your life,
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I ended up getting into the comic industry years ago and started writing, comics and stuff like that, because it was fun. It was fun. I loved it. So it was just like, hey, this isn't work. This is just me having a good time. So that's awesome. I love that, Paul. So what about you, Laurie? So how we went from being an accountant and all that wonderful stuff.
You say that like it's a bad word. It is.
So how did that spark an interest and get you motivated to get into the comic industry itself?
So the biggest reason I'm in the comic industry is Paul, obviously. Basically, I met him, and then I wasn't planning on doing comics. Like, I don't sound like I've got your guys' geek credentials, but I watched more cartoons and stuff, like 80s, 90s cartoons, and like read some Archies and some Garfields and stuff like that. Nothing like, I feel like I wasn't full in the fandom. But I think that basically when you're best friends with someone who's really into comics and starts his own business, and you're like, I'm a writer and he's a writer, and then he's kind of lured me over, and there was no real stopping it. And Paul has this way of talking about just all this stuff with like such passion that you can't help but want to be a part of it. So like when we started writing our book together, I was like a new mom and like super stressed and sleep deprived. And he suggested it to me. And I was kind of like, that's a crazy idea. I have very little interest in that. But at the same time, I really wanted to write something. And I was I think I was having a bit of a creative block just because I love the whole momming thing and stuff. And I was still trying to write, but it wasn't really going super well. So it was a good outlet, and it was nice to have an accountability partner. And he had a really great idea that was fun to work off of. And then, and same thing. Like from there, like I wasn't really planning on doing anything else. It was kind of just like supposed to be a one-time thing. And then basically after that, I think he started to like plant the seed of just like, oh yeah, after this, like maybe you should do some other writing. But then from our book, basically a comic book character came out of it, and Paul's just like, you should write a comic book. And same thing, I was just still like, that's crazy. I don't really know the fandom. I don't know comics very well. I've never done this, but like he has years of at least fan experience, but definitely also writing experience. And he'd written a whole bunch of scripts that I'd read and stuff. So he kind of mentored me and helped me write. And now I'm just fully in it and no regrets. It's super fun. Like
you said, converted you. He converted you.
He converted, corrupted, whatever word you want to use.
That's awesome.
Like you said, it's whenever every day I like show up to work, it doesn't feel like work. Like there's a few things that are like less fun than others, but it's fun working with my best friend, and we have a great team and get to meet tons of fun people, and it's awesome. So yeah, no regrets. Like I'm full in the geekdom now. No turning back.
Awesome. I love it. And I love how y'all both come from two different worlds. What I've learned in my years of working in the industry is that when you have two different contrasting perspectives that can come together and meld into something beautiful, it becomes something that's like a unicorn. It's like a unicorn. Like you have a horse, then you have a horn that has no business being on a horse. But if you put it together, it becomes a fantastical beast. And that's what I see with the two of you all. And from what I've seen from the work that you're all putting out so far, it's truly a unicorn. It's truly beautiful. So I'm so glad to see that you two found each other and to be able to make something this awesome. So with that in mind, let's talk about ASAP Comics. You have a bunch of different branches. You have ASAP Comics, ASAP Comics UK, ASAP Minis. Break this down for me. We'll start with you, Paul. How did all this come together? How did ASAP Comics come to be?
So again, it was something I wanted to do, and when I was coming up with ideas for names for it, I'm a big soppy, loving dad. I've got three kids, and I was just kind of fooling around with ideas, and I was talking to Laurie, and I was like, I need to come up with a name for this. And then I realized that my children's initials, or their first initials, are A, S, and A. And then you took my first initial on the end.
Oh.
And I was like, I got it. And it just made sense. And it was like, because I've always said that I love creating, but the best thing I'll ever create in my entire life for my children, there's no better story I'll ever tell. So it just made sense. And then I'd kind of come up with the logo, the hourglass, and we were like, right, we're set, and we started to put our stories together, and we did our book, and we did the comic, and so on and so forth. And then with the other platforms, with minis is kind of like my dedication to my son.
Okay.
He loves what I do, and he loves comics, but obviously a lot of what we do is not age appropriate for him because he's only 7. So minis was like my love letter to my own child, and I was like, this is the kind of for him. But then it's now become its own entity, and it's now we've got people who have submitted their own children's books to it, and so on and so forth. And then the third platform is the Anyone World, and what happened with that one was people were coming to us. They were coming to Laurie, they were coming to me, and they were saying, we like what you guys are doing, we want to do something with you, and we've got this character, and so on and so forth. But I'm a big advocate of keep your rights to your creation.
Absolutely. I could not agree more.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And the main continuity is owned by me, because that's what I started it. And then all these people were, they've got all their different stories, and it was like, I'm not taking your stuff. Like, I can't sign out. So we created the Anyone World, which is the creator-owned platform, where people can bring their stories, and it can be novels and graphic novels and comics and mini-series and so on and so forth. But the one factor within it is it's a shared sandpit.
Oh, yeah.
So
makes sense.
In other words, if you've got a story and someone else has got a story or a character, and you go, these two could meet, this would be pretty cool, you can absolutely meet. You can absolutely cross your characters over. But the rights are always maintained by the creator.
Yep, and that's the right way to do it. And I couldn't agree more. Everything you said, check. Everything you said, I agree 110%. Which is sometimes lost when it comes to people engaging in collaborations or creating I want to use capital of industry or whatever, but when they create these platforms, and like, oh, now you're writing for us or whatever. I'm like no. That's one that stifles creativity. Two, let people own what they've made. It's very, very, in my opinion, very simple to do it that way, and you have accountability, and you can have and know that your brainchild is safe. It's really, really important that way. So yeah, absolutely. So yes, thank you for bringing that out, Paul, because
no worries.
not many folks really bring up that aspect of the creative process, and that is really, really important. So yeah, that's awesome. So I've looked at a few of the things that you guys have got cooking, and so I just I'm a poke the bears a little bit to see like what's like. I see Messiah #1. I saw so was that your magnum opus? Like what is Messiah for all of us there?
So everything, like I say, that's in the main continuity is one story. So it's one world, not one story. It's one world. So Messiah and Points of Villainy and Points of Virtue take place in the same world. So Messiah was the first comic. So when I was going through characters with Kyle and going through ideas with Kyle, it was like, we have to start somewhere. We've got to kick it off with someone. And he just made, like, the character in Messiah, Daniel, it just made perfect sense because visually he's very, very different to what you'd have as a superhero. And it just made sense for me to just let's start it with him. And then we brought out the comic and the book at the same time. So it was just one of those things. It was
so everything just kind of flows over.
So we kind of we wanted to give something in prose again because me and Laurie were writers, and then the comic was done kind of at the same time. It fell into place. Timeline wise, they're actually a year apart, but it's good to see where we were kicking off from, which is Points of Villainy and Virtue, to where we currently are in the world, which is Messiah.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that. So so continuity wise, Points of Villainy and Points of Virtue, which one is first and second in that regard, as far as like the timeline is concerned?
So Villaini's first,
okay,
and then Virtue literally comes straight after. They're actually one book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So. But yeah.
Okay.
We wanted to do something different, didn't we? So we decided to try it and see what happened. Okay.
All right. So let me pause you for a second, Paul, because you got me on the hook now. You got me on the hook here. So Laurie, you two collaborated on Points of Villainy and Points of Virtue. What was did you now let me ask, were you both co-writers of this one, of those two books? Yep. So okay, cool, perfect. I was hoping that would be the answer. Excellent. And I'll come back to you, Paul, in a second, but Laurie, in what ways was your creative vision input into those stories?
So the whole premise of Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue is that there's this one event, and really the one event is kind of what the whole universe is kind of centered around, where it's like this event happens, and then like there's a year out from this event, or the stories all seem to kind of, like, they don't necessarily go chronologically. Sometimes there's like, here's the event and we're going backwards, here's the event, we're going forwards. So all the stories kind of slowly mesh together. But so the book is basically, so it's centered around this event. It's basically 16 different people's stories as this event is going on. So it's from 16 different perspectives. And then Points of Villainy is kind of the more tragic endings, and it's kind of how it starts off. And then after the event kind of takes place at a weekend, and basically it's this chaotic, decimates London and kills a whole bunch of people, and people go missing. And Points of Virtue is kind of the happier endings. Like, the stories are still dark, But basically, I guess I think it's about 24 hours later, these beings show up and essentially save people, and the army of terror, I suppose, disappears and everything goes back to normal. But there's still like everyone, like all these awful things still happen. So it's kind of, it's like this is the big catalyst for this world, for like when like kind of the shining heroes of before turn into the dark heroes. And yeah, so we basically both wrote half the stories, and we kind of just sprinkled in who wrote what and didn't tell anyone who wrote what. So yeah, Paul and I realized that we had such a similar writing style that we, like, even our family and friends couldn't really guess what we wrote, and we didn't really want to tell people, didn't want to have people, like friends and family, like just read one of our own stories or something. We were like, make sure you read the whole book. Yeah. So we didn't tell anyone who wrote what. And yeah, and it was just fun, because now like people would guess and we'd be like, well, I'm not telling.
Okay.
But
that's
like
awesome.
Obviously as things have gone, we've had to like reveal a few here and there. And I'm sure as we've had interviews and stuff, we've talked a little more about certain stories over others, and people could probably get some hints and stuff. But yeah, it's just all that. And then we formatted the book, put it together, and yeah, like you said, it's actually like, so it's 2 parts in one book, and it's actually a flip book.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's like this little artistic piece of work, and it's super fun.
Wow.
And yeah.
that is dope. I like that. That is really cool. That's unique. I love unique. I always get my nerd sense always goes up when something unique is really being put in the forefront.
Like we know that like goes to show how unique it is. Like we tried to put it through Amazon, and Amazon basically didn't want to. They printed a proof for us, being like, here's what your book's going to look like. And then when we tried to put it through, they're like, we're not going to do this for you, because basically they didn't want to print a flip book. They're like, we were too unique for Amazon.
That's
and
cool.
we kind of discussed if we wanted to maybe fix it so that it was like, it wasn't a flip book, and we kind of decided no, like it was the original, like Paul's original vision was this flip book, and we didn't want to really, I don't know, I guess compromise our
you said it right, Laurie. That's the right word. You said it.
So we just we sell it through the ASAP website now, and that's where you find it, and that's where you should go find it.
Excellent.
ASAPcomicsuk.com.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, plug that. That. That's awesome.
We got signed copies with both of our signatures, which is like fairly rare since we're in different countries, and like a lot of copies out there just have one of our signatures, but there's some signed copies still available with both of them.
That is cool. That is cool. See, I love uniqueness, and I love the fact that you stood by your work. That is incredibly important. Because you would hate to have to conform to whatever the vendor is trying to tell you to do, but now it's not your work anymore. Now it's no longer your vision. It's now whoever else, the vendor's vision, whatever.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love the fact that you stuck to your guns, because that's one of the experiences I had as well. I had an experience like that as well when it came to my first couple issues that I was releasing. Of my comic Trouble, The Rhythm Within, and the idea behind this, it's an action adventure musical. That is the series. It's an action adventure musical, and the premise is my main protagonist gets a different superpower based on the genre of music he listens to.
Oh, I like that.
That's awesome. That's the whole story. And he goes on this adventure and all this other stuff, and he comes into contact with different genres. So a lot of people had a lot of like, oh my God, what if you listen to country music? You know, all the like fandom was building for it, and it was great. But every time, like even when I had prints and all that stuff, and like I pitched it to different private vendors or literary agents and stuff like that, they're like, oh well, we don't know if the market. And they're like, oh well, what if you change this? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, because that's not my vision. And so I decided to keep it going the way it was supposed to be. And now I've been releasing issue after issue, and soon, hopefully by the end of this year, I'm gonna make the novelization, the whole volume. So it's
awesome.
And that's so important, to stick to your creative vision and not conforming to all that stuff. So so shout outs to y'all for doing that. That's really amazing. That's really cool. I'm excited. I'm excited. I like that. I like the idea of that book. Now, I'm not going to go into like spoilers here. I'm not going to go into spoilers because I don't like doing that. But I am going to ask. Was there any characters in particular that you wrote? I'm gonna start with Paul this time. Any characters that you wrote in those two, singular flip book, that stood out to you the most, and that you really connected yourself to?
Yeah, there was definitely a couple of stories. One in Villainy was using a kind of fear of my own. It's kind of taking a negative and using it. For sure. And then one of the stories in Virtue is based on some characters that will be seen in a kind of bigger picture. So yeah, I would definitely say, one in each, if nothing else, for sure.
Okay. Cool beans. What about you, Laurie?
Well, one of my characters became my comic book character, so definitely identified with her. Yeah, like in Points of Villainy, there's basically this story called Sweet Dreams, which focuses on this little girl, basically as they're fleeing London, and it's kind of just her in the car through her eyes and with her parents and stuff, and the kind of just little snippets, and she's just waking up and sleeping in the car and stuff. And then when you flip it over, Points of Virtue, to kind of connect the two sides, basically there's a story called Angel of Death, which picks up from her mom's perspective, and that's her basically. She leaves her family behind with her sister, and she goes back to tries to go back to the city to help out with her, or just help essentially. She's a doctor, and as she's going, she's having this she's basically subject to everyone else and having her own awful experiences and stuff, and it basically led to the creation of Sister Grimm, which is the comic book character I'm creating now. So yeah, a lot of attachment to her, and she was just one of those characters that came alive and came off the page, and writing her then and now, she's just gotten easier and easier to write. She's just super relatable and probably one of the more real characters I've ever written, and super easy. And then in Sister Grimm, she has this fun little sidekick who he's super fun to write too. So yeah, that character in particular basically just spawned this huge story and creation, and the encouragement and corruption of Paul again get me to write comic book characters. So yeah, it's just those ones are obviously near and dear to my heart. And there's just some fun stories in general, both of us. I love a lot of the stories, and we tried to make each one unique and different. You don't want to just have the same kind of person with 16 different stories. There's a risk, I guess, of getting a little repetitive or having the same voice and stuff. But I think each story is super unique, and they kind of play off of our own fears or other people's fears and stuff, and try and add a little bit of terror and thrill into people's lives and stuff. And so yeah, they all have their moments, but obviously both of us have our favorites, I assume.
I bet.
So yeah.
I bet. That is really cool. Okay, before I move on, oh my God, I can talk about this all day. Before I move on, the arcs of your stories, contrasting the darkness and the light. Everybody in life in general experiences both of these things. At certain points of their lives, whatever, the high points, low points. Did I do that right? High, low. There we go.
Yeah.
Direction. Yeah. But what motivated you all to write the darker sides of the story? Everybody has something that motivates them to write, usually darker tones. What motivated you all to write in that way? I want to start with Laurie. Let's start with you.
Honestly, before we wrote the book, I was already writing dark stuff. I've always kind of been drawn to. Started off writing dark fantasy, and then kind of slipped into horror a bit. And I don't specifically know what draws me to it. I think it's because maybe there's less limits. You can be gritty, and you can play with people, and you can kill people off, and people are expecting it a little bit more, but you're still trying to surprise people. But once upon a time, I kind of explained to someone that by putting my darkness on the page, you kind of leave the light behind.
Hey,
So
ooh,
that
that's
like, I
deep.
was like, and I kind of liked how, it was just like an offhand comment. And then afterwards, I'm like, man, I'm kind of profound sometimes. So I kind of like thinking of that, where it's like, sometimes you just gotta, like, I know like when I write poetry and stuff sometimes, and a lot of that's just puking out emotions and getting them out of my brain and stuff. And it kind of is therapeutic. So I think that's kind of what it is. Like, writing is pretty therapeutic for me. And I think sometimes when I write the darker stuff, it does like, it gets rid of it, puts it on a page and leaves some clarity behind.
I like that. Ooh, Laurie, you deep, girl. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I'm profound.
Yeah, that's what's up. I like that. Paul, I don't think you're gonna be able to top that, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm not. No.
But what motivated you to write more darker stories?
Yeah, I'd say like definitely my change in what I've read as a comic book fan over the years. You know, it's like when you're younger, it's light and bright and Fantastic Four and all that kind of stuff. And then as you grow, and especially as you find different comic book companies that, you know, aren't always the big two, you can find some, you know, much more gritty stuff and, you know, much darker characters, and then you can see the anti-hero and stuff. But one of the things that we did with this was we wanted to do it from the human perspective. So every story is told through, it's not through a superhero's eyes. Not one of the stories is. And for me, it was really good because, again, to agree with what Laurie said there, it is really therapeutic. But it's also that thing where it's like, how would I react to this? And how would I react to see this superhero? And how would I react? So it was definitely me getting out some of my childish, you know, oh, I'd love to see this superhero do this, or, you know, but again, with some of the dark stuff, it was also nice to just, get it out of here, put it down here, and just kind of crack on. So yeah, no, it was much of the same, to be fair.
Nice. That's cool. I like that. And from what I can tell, your execution together is dope. That's really cool. Me, I think I've written one. Well, you know, over the years you write other, you know, a bunch of things, like things going on in your head, you jot them down. But I only tried one really dark story once, and I was like, I suck at writing dark. I'm like, I don't think I can do that. Like I can always write themed. Like if it's one particular arc or one particular issue that has like a really dark, grim tone. But at the end, I'll always like make the hero come out on top or something. You know, like it'll clean itself up. Because I've gone like real dark, and I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this. You know what I mean? But you guys, y'all found the balance. Y'all found a way to make it work. That is tremendous, and I think that is awesome. So that's really, really good stuff. All right, so what are you guys working on now? It's 2022. What are we cracking on?
Well, there's quite a lot because our team has grown a lot, but also we're trying to hit out different types of media. So we want to do things that are different. So just for example, we when we first started, so when Messiah first came out, I was actually approached by a production company.
Okay. Wow.
And we basically, long story short, we had a back and forth and a conversation, and then I'd got this other character, and they had suggested they wanted to do something live action. So I said,
hey.
Cool. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It really was crazy. And then I wrote a pilot episode and said, this is the character I've got in mind. What do you think? They came back to me and said, can you write us 9 more episodes? And
Yo!
I said, yes, I can. Yeah. So I said, sure. And then we even did the storyboards for them as well and stuff like that. So that was insane.
Yeah, that's insane. Wild.
Yeah.
Yo, that's awesome, Paul. That's tremendous.
Yeah. It was certainly a moment. I remember messaging Laurie and going, Is this legit? Is this real? Like,
am I being punked?
Yeah, what the hell is going on? But yeah, so and so we had that, and then when I started the company as well, it was helped by a local sector. It was helped by a section of the government here. They do these things where they can help you start a business.
Yes.
And because of how this has gone and how this is kind of elevated, and I mean, like I say, a lot of this is organic. It's crazy, but it's organic.
Yeah.
But I got contacted by the local work coach that I got. And again, long story short, was I'd hit, or ASAP had hit the powers that be, and they'd heard about this. And I ended up being interviewed by their head office and then by a national newspaper.
Wow.
And then a guy who worked for their head office makes documentaries. So then he made a small animated, because he even we got one of our artists involved, animated documentary about the birth of ASAP. So it's, yeah.
Paul, are you famous? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Have I been hoodwinked? Am I talking to famous people? My goodness.
All at least.
Oh my god, that is tremendous, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you very much. It was crazy.
That's
so
amazing. So, okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself. But when did you send the pilot? Was that last year? Like
yeah,
last year?
So obviously it was just at the end of 2020.
Okay.
When we did the pilot, so I wrote it and sent it to them, and then obviously the world being what it was, we then just got locked back in. It was what it was. So there have been delays on that, but it's still there. And I've recently spoken with the director, and we've kind of had a chat, and so that's a to be coming kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, take me with you. Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Man, that's so cool.
Thank you so much. No, it's so surreal. It's so surreal. And it's led to so many great things, like to meet so many great people.
Yeah.
Like we've got such a great team, and the things that we've got coming. So like, for example, Sarah Butcher, who, kind of shout out to her for being the editor on Points of Villainy and Virtue and putting both of us in our place. But she's also, she's a writer and an artist, and she did the concept design for Sister Grimm. And then we've got David Howard. And each of them, as well as Laurie and myself, have stuff coming out this year for the main continuity.
Gotcha.
So I have Messiah issue 2 coming out. I've got Dead of Night coming out, which is KNI, so it's like the Night of the Realm, Dead of Night coming out. David has got OPSEC coming out, which are kind of like our BPRD, our kind of shield, if you like.
Gotcha.
And then Sarah is a novelist, and she has got a book coming out, which is called Tales of POV Heather Moore, which follows a police officer from the event throughout the year to then bring. So she kind of fills in the gap.
Gotcha. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, man. That's good, man. I got to start hanging out with smart people like y'all. My goodness. That is cool. Wow. All right. Wow. Gee, you done blew me away. Where's my water? Yeah, I can't even breathe. Take a squig. So, Laurie, what's your 2022 looking like? What are you pushing out this year?
Well, one of the first things I'm pushing out is a baby.
oh my! Congratulations.
So yeah, I'm gonna be kind of. I can't stay away, so I'll still have my fingers in the ASAP pot and doing as much as I can. But yes, that's gonna throw a wrench in things a little bit and slow things down on my end. But we have a great team to help pick up some of the slack that I'm leaving behind. But yeah, I still have big intentions of getting at Sister Grimm and finishing that and seeing that come to life. So that's my big 2022. And then we have a whole bunch of through the Anyone world, we have some prospective writers and creators and stuff coming through, and I'll still be working with them as much as I can, and I'm excited to see all their stuff come to life, and obviously through ASAP Minis when stuff comes through there. So yeah, I'm still gonna I can't stay away, so I'll still have my fingers on some things, but my main thing will be Sister Grimm, just like from coming with something with my name on it specifically.
That's cool. Wow. You guys are getting it done. My goodness. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy good. I love seeing good folks like yourselves climb the ladder. I love it. I love seeing that. I love seeing your grind pay off. I love seeing all that good work be noticed. That's tremendous. My heart just grew 3 sizes. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. So final thing, where can we all get your stuff? Where can we all find all those good things you're cooking up, and where can we find you guys in social media?
So we've got, as I said, we've got the 3 platforms. So it's ASAPcomicsuk.com is for the main continuity. So you can find Messiah there, you can find our book there, Points of Villainy and Virtue. We've got merch, we've got news of what's coming on there. Then we've got anyoneworld.com, which is where you'll find all our creator-owned stuff. So you'll find our charity. We launched it with a charity book called Perspectives. So that's on there. We've got Bob Non-Union Psychic, The Big Book of Bob Volume 1, which is by a wonderful creator called Lance Lucaro. We've got Dog Eaters, which is by, again, another fantastic creator called Malcolm Wong. We've got stuff coming through there, which will obviously be going through Laurie's editing eyes, so we've got that. And then on ASAP Minis, which is asapminis.com, we're going to have, we've got 2 books coming out this month, which is going to be Bernard the Butter Bear and his Bugbear Friends.
That's awesome.
Then we've got Dad's Tanyan and the Muscatinis, which is actually about me and my kids.
Aww.
And then coming soon for that, we've got Alpheus is Brave and Brilliant, which is about a dyspraxic superhero, which is based fully on my son, because my son has dyspraxia. So,
okay. Wow.
So, lots there. Yeah.
So awesome. So, man, I'm very, very rarely at a loss for words. That's crazy, man. Y'all are doing it. Y'all are getting it done. I'm gonna leave all the links to all their great work in the description section below. Check out everything ASAP Comics UK is doing. They're getting it done. They're getting it done. Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. So, before I close, I want to thank you both. Yeah, you're both up here. I want to thank you both for coming on the show and sharing all this amazing work that you guys are doing, sharing your journeys, sharing how your creative processes, and sharing your lives here with us today. From the bottom of my heart, I really, really want to thank you both. It's amazing. It's amazing to really have you 2 here.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness gracious Lord. But anyway, oh my God, I'm getting a little emotional here. All right, so once again, thank you, Paul and Laurie, for coming on to the show. Everybody, check out ASAP Comics UK. They are doing the Lord's work. They're getting it done. Check out their stuff. Check out their books. Support them on social media. Go to all their sites. As I said before, I'm leaving them in the description section below. I, of course, am Dre the Brute Daniels. Definitely follow me on all my dope social media platforms that you'll see over here. No, wait, I'm gonna put them over here. They're gonna be over here at TheBrute00 on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the vid. Once again, I thank you all for your time. Once again, big shout outs once again to the crew of ASAP Comics UK, and I will catch you all next time. Also, if you want to support my channel, check out spinwiz.com or download the Spinwiz app and check out my comic series Trouble. It was written with a lot of love, and it was definitely my favorite comic series to write. I've also written it in English and in Spanish, so whatever floats your boat, I got it for you. Thanks again, and check it out.